Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic, hope you're doing well, and today we've got a little bit of movie news, and that is apparently Alfred Molina is going to reprise his role as Doc Ock in the upcoming Spider-Man movie, which has a lot of tinglings of Spider-Verse-esque stuff going on, which has led to some people saying, I wonder if you could potentially see other actors getting involved from the Tobey Maguire universe, including maybe even Tobey Maguire himself. We'll, of course, have to wait and see exactly what happens here. But before diving into this bit of news, please be sure to smash the like button and the subscribe, and, of course, turn that bell notification on. That way you know every time a new video goes up, and also every time that I go live. And if you want to find out ways to support the channel, check out the links in the description of the video below as well. And so this comes to us from John F. Trent of our friends over at Bounding Into Comics, and it says here, a new rumor claims that Spider-Man villain Doc Ock will return for Spider-Man 3 and that he will be portrayed by Alfred Molina. This seems to have been confirmed as no longer rumor by Variety and other outlets. It says here Alfred Molina is returning to the Spideyverse. The actor who has portrayed the evil Doc Ock in the 2004 Spider-Man sequel is reprising his role for the third installment of the Tom Holland-led superhero blockbuster. So again, very interesting there to see that being confirmed. Molina previously portrayed Doc Ock again in Spider-Man 2, and it is interesting because this new rumor comes originally from The Hollywood Reporter, writers Aaron Couch and Boris Kitt. They write, Alfred Molina is putting back on the metal arms and will reprise his role as the villainous Doc Ock, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. What's really cool about this is that it is a great villain from probably one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made, at least from the live-action standpoint is concerned. And one of the reasons why it was so good was because Alfred Molina did such a great job bringing that specific character to life, right? Because the character is very complex, at least according to the movie universe's understanding. You know, he's trying to create this universal, or not universal, this infinite supply of energy. He's using, obviously, these arms to help him in that process of containing it. There's, of course, a containment breach, and that eventually is what leads to specifically him having to lose out on his ability, essentially, to control those arms, because the inhibitor chip gets destroyed, gets fried, and then he can no longer control the AI, and the AI starts to poison his mind. But there is obviously still that element. There's still that sense of him wanting to hold on. Now, what is interesting is that the movie seems to indicate that he does not survive, that he is basically brought down at the very end. So it'll be very interesting to see exactly how they bring him back. But again, having him confirmed for the new movie does have me excited because, as I said, it is the best of the Spider-Man films thus far, that many argue, and I would also argue as well. So it'll be very interesting. It goes on saying, The Hollywood Reporter was not the first to report on Molina's return as Dr. Octopus. The GWW reported back in November that a source within Disney Marvel has informed that GWW that Alfred Molina will be returning to the Spider-Man franchise to reprise his role as the famous Doc Ock. While they noted that Molina would be playing Doc Ock, they couldn't confirm whether or not he would be playing the same version of the character he played in Spider-Man 2. The Hollywood Reporter did not have any information on that front either. If I had to guess, I would assume that it would probably be this type of, as I said, Spider-Verse-esque film where essentially they're doing this multiverse. And as I said, Alfred Molina would be reprising his specific version of Doc Ock, who they could somehow bring back towards the very end, and I think that they could potentially also then bring in people like Tobey Maguire as well. It goes on to say this: the version of the character would seemingly die when he flooded an artificial sun he had created. His last words are, "I will not die a monster." He, along with the sun, are then drowned by the river. So obviously, you could potentially have it where the AI arms could essentially have, saved him. You could also have it to where maybe he just wakes up and he's able to get the arms off or something to that effect. Again, there's ways in which you could totally make that work to have him had survived this process, but I think it would be a lot more compelling for them to bring back this version of the character and do a Spider-Verse-esque story, more so than just to have him be brought back and be the same character in a different universe, because basically that would kind of tie their hands, at least in certain aspects, to doing a Spider-Verse live-action type movie in the future, because you would be bringing someone in very similar to what they did by bringing in J. Jonah Jameson, bringing back the same actor to play that character, which, again, I think was fantastic. It was so great to see him back on the screen, but it was obviously also a very different edition and different version of the character being in this universe. But it does raise the question of, will they ever do a Spider-Verse where you have J. Jonah Jameson versus J. Jonah Jameson, and you have it with the same actors playing two different versions of himself? I'm assuming they could potentially have Alfred Molina do that, where they say, no, we want him to be this new version in this new universe of Doc Ock, and if we ever do a crossover between the worlds and do a Spider-Verse-esque type movie, he could just play himself in different ways in that capacity, which, again, they could do. I personally would just like to see more of it as a, like, he's coming in from another universe, having survived, and, you know, those last words, I will not die a monster. He does, though, still come back as a monster, because the AI, it does not want to die and does not want to go away. And again, you could potentially see that happen. Molina had previously expressed interest in returning to the role. Back in 2014, he told Collider, quote, "That was the most fun I think I've ever had on a movie of that kind. You know, those big sort of features where you spend 6 months hanging off a wire, you know, and that stuff." And obviously, there's some really great video footage of him from the movie, basically of the way in which they got the arms to work. And there's some great stuff, great clips of him where he's trying to, essentially, there's a puppeteer essentially working the arm and just trying to get just him to drink, you know, to have a beverage, and it messing up several times, the glasses, that kind of stuff. It is pretty funny to see if you've never seen those videos. He continued, quote, "But it was the first movie of that kind that I've ever been involved in. I had a wonderful time, loved it, I'd go back and do it again in a heartbeat." So obviously this rumor seems to have been confirmed, and it makes a lot of sense for them to bring him back. He goes on there to say, this rumor regarding Molina is the latest rumor that seems to reveal that Spider-Man 3 will fully embrace the idea of a multiverse. As I said, it would make a lot more sense if they were to bring him back as the Spider-Man 2 version, more so than anyone else, because then they could also continue his story and have him be alive, essentially, after the fact. You know, it would kind of mess up the continuity of their movies if they decided to go another route and go to a time in that universe prior to his death on the river. Previous rumors indicate there will be multiple Spider-Man characters appearing, with both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield reprising their roles. So again, those are previous rumors. In fact, just this month, Scooper Mikey Sutton detailed Andrew Garfield and Maguire have both been signed for Spider-Man 3, according to sources. He wanted to explain that the film will also see these other two Spider-Men assist in proving that Parker, Holland, that is actually not Spider-Man. Sutton also claimed that Garfield and Maguire could appear again beyond this movie, expected to be the longest of the Spider-Man films. Sutton also discussed Doctor Strange's role in the movie, saying, quote, "Doctor Strange's presence is to inform Parker Holland about the multiverse and the chaos that's about to rain down. Strange's presence in Spider-Man 3 is a rumor from The Hollywood Reporter back in October. The report at the time, quote, "Benedict Cumberbatch is putting on the cloak of levitation and will reprise Marvel's supernatural hero Doctor Strange for the latest Spider-Man movie installment." The Hollywood Reporter claimed at the time that Strange would be, quote, "in the mentor role that was previously occupied by Robert Downey Jr., who played Tony Stark, Iron Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, and by Samuel L. Jackson in Spider-Man Far From Home, in the latter reprising Nick Fury." And again, that would be interesting to see that character in that role be brought in. And to be honest, this is probably one of the only interesting things currently going on in the MCU, because right now the future of the MCU, to me, does not look that bright, especially when you take into account that movie theaters are essentially being destroyed by them not releasing their movies. It's going to be very hard, I feel, for studios to justify putting down hundreds of millions of dollars behind all these projects. So really, Spider-Man 3 honestly seems to be likely going to be the next real big budget, giant budget type movie, having a bunch of characters from the MCU being brought into it, Strange being one of them, but then also having these multiverse stuff going on, with Alfred Molina coming in, with the rumors of them bringing in even people like Tom Holland, which I think would be, or sorry, Tom Holland is obviously would be there, but bringing other actors, for instance, like bringing in Andrew Garfield or bringing in Tobey Maguire, which personally I think would be awesome to have a live action Spider-Verse. Obviously, I think that, you know, for the case of inclusivity, they would totally cast also a brand new actor to put on the Spider-Man suit, and essentially to play the Miles Morales character, because you can't just have 3 white guys as Spider-Man. You got to bring in the diversity as well. You might even have Spider-Gwen make an appearance too, and other things like that. And it unfortunately wouldn't be done for story. It wouldn't be done to try and pay respect to the characters. It would be done, unfortunately, on the grounds of just trying to push for forced diversity, which I've never been a big fan of. However, if they do get the casting right on those choices, then it could still potentially work out in a wide variety of ways. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that Alfred Molina is going to be coming in as the Spider-Man 2 version of himself, or are they going to do what they did with J. Jonah Jameson and just bring him in and have him be now a part of the universe that has been now established with Tom Holland? And also, do you think that you could potentially see Garfield and Maguire being brought in? Again, it says they've been signed. Of course, these are complete rumors at this point. Again, it's geekosity, so this is a scoop. So obviously, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But it is cool to see Molina at the seemingly have been confirmed to be brought into this film. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this movie, if you like this video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe and the bell notification. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my December Patreon and Subscribe Star members, starting off with Patreon, Albertus Magnus, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator, Brian P., Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Camille, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Miss Martin Muses, also known as Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bogend, Tina B, and the Modern Major General, Laura Story. Gotta give you that shout out for that one time that you were doubled up. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And now a huge shout out to all of my December Subscribe Star members we have over there with Stand For, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all so much for being my Patreon and Subscribe Star members. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream on the main channel, please consider joining over on those platforms. You can also get access to things like exclusive giveaways of 4Ks, Blu-rays. If you want a DVD, I guess you could also get a DVD as well, digital codes, and of course, you get to possibly join me on the channel once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream and access to an exclusive podcast featuring John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we have a lot of fun talking about movies and tons of other random things. Anyway, if you want to support these things, check out the links in the description of this video. And also, please consider joining my other channel, the OMB Report, where I talk about not just movies like I do over here, but I focus more so on politics, news, and culture in that order. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for your love and support. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.